Episode 268, Money Returns, Time Doesn't.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And it's Hump Day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. So we're going to talk about money today and how that's really overrated because time is, as I have repeatedly stated, the only commodity, the only asset that you have. Is it a commodity? I think it's more like an asset, which is finite. And that's something you have to come to realize quite early in age, simply because you're going in to the hamster wheel right after you come out of school, probably loaded with debt in certain nations, the United States, and I think in other places this model has kind of caught on. If you want the job, you've got to have the mega bank account, the MBA, to go along with it, and I find that kind of sad because I've seen one or two universities from the inside, but on one occasion it was very hazy and I was insanely hammered because it was some kind of frat party thing, whatever. And the other was, I don't know, I was just there visiting and it was just insanely interesting. There were a couple more. But none of them were really eventful. Now, that doesn't go to say that, you should drop out of school. Those puzzle pieces fall into place over time. There's this famous, very ironic Steve Jobs commencement speech, I think it was at Stanford, where he basically said exactly this. Hold on just a second, I need to take my jacket off. Now, jacket is off. Now I'm not warm anymore. I'm cold. There's no such thing as the golden middle. It's a lie. Anyhow, before we get started, we need to go over housekeeping. Item number one of which is, like everyday, sharing is caring. Why should you share this content? Well, you can get the same content here with a paywall that's going to eat up thousands of dollars and feed the money rapists even more. And we don't want to do that. Because, why pay for something if you can get it for free? Even better quality and without getting suckered. So share the content because it does really help people. I've got, not tons, but, quite a few emails over the past couple of months. Over 12 months. We just had our birthday, but you get the picture, right? It helps people, and that's what we are here for. That's our mission statement. Item number two, views are my own, do not represent, blah, 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 blah. And item number three, remodeling mode still going on. Yesterday's episode would have almost fallen victim to long overdue paintwork that needed to be done. I was just looking at a leftover piece of the ceiling that we didn't make today, and it's awful. It's god awful. So the episode's a bit shorter, a bit more concise, and deal with it. That goes to say, how did I come up with this episode in the first place? Well, quite early on, I made the decision to retire early out of the hamster wheel. I wasn't really in the hamster wheel. I was, I had multiple companies, and I was doing insanely well, and still am, despite the decision to retire. That came along. I've, elaborated exhaustively about this a few episodes ago. Those listening now, those that just tuned in, look back in the archives. Those that are loyal subscribers already and have been will have heard this story multiple times over. So I'm not going to go into details. Here's the reason. Probably when I started consulting, I was invited to meaningless projects, many of them. To participate as an external source of knowledge or, whatever not. And at first you feel honored, right? Because these Fortune 500 companies, global players invite you from buttfuck Germany to help them out with digital matters, right? Which I was very good at. And then, you fly there, and you get your chauffeur and you get your expensive hotel and, then you up the game and you get put on charter private jets and, that kind of ordeal. And it just feels fucking good, like you're totally valuable. And then comes the realization that they don't do anything with the information. Right. And I have proof of concept here. I had a friend and we did some search engine optimization very early on because I needed to test it out for a website. Dude calls me up 3 weeks later and says, "Can you shut this down? The phone is ringing off the hook. I can't handle all the business that I'm getting." And that was just an interesting experience. I had proof of concept, right? And I sent that ahead and said, "Look, this is what we can do." And they were like, "Oh, yeah, wow, cool. We can put you on a plane, get you here, listen to your opinion. You work out a plan, blah, blah, blah." And then you're like, okay, wow, you're totally psyched. Get on the plane, fly there. You work up the entire thing. And then, months later into the project, you deliver your report and your action plan and, all that kind of good stuff. And then while you walk out of the office and you get this fake handshake, this fake thank you handshake for having spent all of that time, all of those resources, all of those hours to deliver on time, really a report and an action item plan that they can just, pull out of the drawer, execute, and boom, there you go. And they just put this thing in the drawer to the other ones that are there. I found that out later on. It's like they don't really want help, right? They want, a comforting feeling so that they can pull it out if they fuck up and say, "Well, look, the consultant said so." That's really what the whole thing is about. How did I get there? Right. The realization then was that I was spending so much time. There was actually one time, I think it was over the course of 1.5 years, where I was working on multiple projects on multiple continents at the same time. So I basically lived on an airplane, right? Because I was just going back, forth, managing here, having a meeting there, next morning Singapore, because there was a board meeting there and that kind of ordeal. And, I was making shitloads of money, but I couldn't even spend it. That was the irony about it. And that's why I came across this quote a couple of weeks ago. I said, I have to make an episode out of this because the realization that came along very quickly and very abruptly was that, time doesn't return. If it's wasted, it is fucking wasted. It's gone, period. And that's one of the realizations I have addressed in this podcast previously, but I thought, make it with a more eye-catching title so that people really listen to the episode and understand that, time doesn't return. While on the other hand, and this is where it gets interesting, even those people who default or go bankrupt or whatever, if they're not incarcerated for really deviously fucking up, you get another chance, man. You can make all of that money back, unless you're 95 or something. That chances with increasing age, the chances decrease, of course. But you get the picture. If you're in your 30s and you go broke because of the impending financial crisis or depression or whatever it's going to be, whatever it's going to be called, don't worry about it. Right? Time spent with your family is better invested than being out hustling over a few bucks that you can scram together because you're missing that to your, I don't know, new watch or your new Ferrari or, whatever it is you're into. And that's a very, very, very important lesson to learn. I learned it in my early 30s. There were some people around me that learned it in their late 20s. I wish I would have learned that lesson then, because you cannot learn that lesson early enough. So, I think I have made the point. I shall close the case right here, and we'll just wrap this up here. And I hope you have a good rest of your Wednesday. And if you've already had your Wednesday, have a good night. Leave your hands above the blanket, and we shall be back in touch tomorrow when we are gonna talk about Padawan money mistakes. See you soon, folks. Bye-bye.